For as long as I can remember, I've had a passion for watching desk setup videos, and for the last 10 years, I've been putting together workspaces of my own, where I've gone from studying in high school, to running mobile gaming YouTube channels, to desk iterations throughout my time studying at university, all the way up until recent additions where I've built and shared my own custom desk builds. Since then, by probably watching more desk setup videos and office tours compared to any other form of content on YouTube for the past year, I was eager to create a space that not only inspired me to create wonderful things, but also be highly functional, organized, and most importantly, looked great. Beginning with the center point of any workspace, it's the desk. This is the extra large Omnidesk Ascent Wildwood in the rich brown Havea top, and it is absolutely incredible. Now, this isn't my first experience with a sit-stand desk, as I purchased and used a Omnidesk in the past for a family member, but beginning with the setting up process, it's honestly a real breeze. There's no exposed motors, with everything neatly housed underneath the desk in the control box, and within each of the legs, it's really well designed. In fact, all the components for the desk setup fit in just a few boxes, and it really went together really nicely. One of my main prerequisites for going into this new desk build was that I wanted a desk that would look great from all the angles, as it was going to be placed in the center of the room. So the design of the frame, from the materials to the colors and the cable management, all had to be well considered and put together. There was really no hiding anything where the desk was going to go. Once all assembled and in place, with all of my desk peripherals, it really looks fantastic. Beginning with the top of the desk, I paired the solid rich brown Havea hardwood with a full-size black Omnidesk desk mat, which matches some of the black accents throughout the rest of the room. What I love about this is that no matter how I'm using the desk on the surface, the large desk mat allows me to move everything around, have a soft surface to rest my arms on, and ensures that I don't scratch the surface of the desk. It's really well designed, as at the back of the desk mat it even has a perfectly cut out hole which enables access to the cable management cutout inside the desktop, which passes through to the cable management tray underneath the desk. Now, I love utilizing the standing component of the desk, especially when I've been sitting in the office for up to 10 hours a day. It rises super quickly at about 6 centimeters a second and can go as low as 60 centimeters all the way up to 1.25 meters high, which is quite crazy. The controller unit is super customizable too, where you can preset different height settings, change the LED color, or turn it off completely. And it pairs with the Bluetooth app, which you can also customize the desk even further to the extent of reminding you when to take breaks from sitting or standing throughout the day. One of my favorite features of the desk that can be picked up separately is the advanced cable management tray, and paired with the cable cutout inside the desktop, which is removable in the middle of the desk, it seriously brings a smile to my cable obsessive OCD face. Having the desk in the middle of the room with the wires on the outside was a real big concern that I had. As a result, with a few zip ties, cable loops, and utilizing the cable tray with magnetic components underneath the desk, I'm really happy how it turned out. I connected all the tech peripherals and the desk power to a power board in Omnidesk's cable management tray, so that only one singular wire comes out and plugs into the wall from the desk. Almost like the whole desk itself is an appliance, which really somewhat kind of reminds me of the famous photo of Steve Jobs in his sparse room where his tinsel lamp is singularly connected to the power outlet. Lastly, I use a Secret Labs chair, which I carried over from my last setup, which was hard at first, I have to be honest, but offers really awesome support over time. But having a desk that gives me the option to sit and stand now does give me a little bit more relief too, so these two paired together are really a fantastic combo. That's the desk itself. Thank you so much to Omnidesk for sending it out to me. You can use my link in the description if you'd like to get a nice little discount too, or just use the code designed by Kirk at checkout. It's a great sit-stand desk, and I'm really looking forward to using it more throughout the next year and beyond. A desk space is obviously nothing without what goes on top of it, and that's where this desk's personality really comes to life. Housing a lot of my main peripherals is this really nicely designed desk shelf from oaky wood. It's built from black stained oak covered with a water-based varnish, and it's been handmade too by their team. They have a really unique process where, through their oaky wood 3D configurator on their website, You can customize your own desk shelf and other products to the exact dimensions of your liking. Mine here is 125 centimeters wide by 24 centimeters deep, which perfectly fits on the desk mat and nestles in my Apple Studio display and a few other items too. It really adds a lot of structure to the desk and another layer of organization, allowing there to be tons of free space underneath the shelf, some essential storage, but besides all of that, it just looks great. It's solid and it pairs pretty much seamlessly with their MacBook stand, which I've mounted on the right side of the desk, and their pen tray, which houses two of my favorite Lamy fountain pens. These are great as the stand keeps my MacBook perfectly in place and it never moves or wobbles, meaning I never have to adjust it throughout the day. Also in the same black finish, it looks like it's perfectly integrated into the shelf too. The pen tray also ensures I always have a pen within arm's reach whenever I need to jot down an idea that pops into my head or add a task to my to-do list, which I like to write down in my handy dandy notebook. What's really cool about these Oakwood accessories as well is that on their website you can use their built-in AR feature to see how some of their products might look in your space, like this MagSafe dock, which really gives you a good idea when deciding which accessories will work on your desk space and what might not. The Oakwood team were kind enough to send out the shelf, but I purchased the stand and the tray separately and I've loved all of them ever since. Let's get to the tech, and a lot has changed here. Beginning with the main feature point on the desk setup is the Apple Studio display. Specifically, it's the model with the normal glass, not the nano texture, but I did opt for the height adjustable stand. Now, I definitely have said this in the past, there are better value options compared to this display, but I finally decided to opt for a single Apple Studio display as I wanted something that was perfectly color accurate due to finding that there was a decent color shift when working on my LG displays. Despite the price, I couldn't be happier with the Studio display. For all it does, from the built-in webcam and speakers, which is so convenient for everything from meetings to just listening to music and content casually, to the instant on experience whenever I sit down at the desk to start the day, and it completely charges my MacBook at full wattage, plus adds some well-needed ports on the back too. I'll definitely have a full review on this one soon, but in the meantime, I must say that I really don't regret getting this particular model with the height adjustable stand, despite sitting on top of my Oakwood desk shelf, as it not only looks great, but when I do use the desk in the standing position, as I am quite tall, I do need to lift it up a little bit. But I have to say, it just doesn't quite compare to other monitors, especially in the compatibility and design department with my MacBook. Speaking of, I have a 14-inch 2021 M1 Max MacBook Pro with 32GB of RAM, 2TB of storage, and the top spec CPU and GPU. It's been a great machine, but not a dream machine. I can definitely get it to slow down and kick the fans up significantly with some of my B-roll workflows and utilizing Fusion in DaVinci Resolve. However, I love the smaller screen size compared to my old Intel 16-inch MacBook Pro, especially for on-the-go use, and when I do leave, the one cable connection to the Studio display is seriously an absolute blast. With the Studio display and the MacBook right there, I've got access to 2 Thunderbolt 4 ports, 3 high bandwidth USB-C ports, my SD card slot, and HDMI, which I don't use that often, but this means I could go away with all the extra cables that came from my old Thunderbolt dock, which all I'm really missing at this point is Ethernet, but that hasn't been an issue at all. On the right hand side, I wanted to add a little bit of decor and lighting to the setup, of which I have a battery powered desk lamp from the design company called Norman Copenhagen. It's the Porter portable lamp in black. It doesn't get too bright, I have to admit, with 3 dimmable modes, but it's reasonable considering the lamp is just a battery powered one. Honestly, I just love the way that it looks. It's a really cool modern take on those old green office lamps that you would see on desks back in like the 50s and 60s and even 70s and beyond, and I just love the way that it brings the whole desk together. It really suits the desk setup well, and sometimes I like to move it in front of my keyboard, particularly later in the evening where I want to light up my desk space a bit more. One drawback I will note with the lamp is that it does charge with micro USB, which is really annoying considering we're almost in a complete world of USB-C these days. On the left and right hand side of the desk, I have kept my Kanto YU4 speakers on top of their respective grey speaker stands. The only difference is now I run them via Bluetooth to save the extra optical cable, plus as the studio display has speakers, I use them less for audio monitoring and more so for listening to music. When I edit, I typically use headphones, so these are just really nice to have for aesthetics, plus when I want to get a bit more of a kick out of what I'm listening to. On the desk itself, I've upgraded to the Magic Keyboard with numpad and Touch ID in black, along with the matching black Magic Trackpad and Logitech MX Master Mouse. The keyboard was definitely an upgrade for me, as I've been using multiple entry-level mechanical keyboards in the past, which I really just didn't like. They ran out of battery, didn't pair sometimes, but most frustratingly, as the keys were different shapes compared to my MacBook keyboard and the layout was a little bit different, it was really hard to get used to. So typos were very plentiful. Now obviously that's my personal preference, but I must say having Touch ID built into the keyboard is absolutely awesome, as having the MacBook closed means I couldn't use password unlock and Apple Pay when the lid was shut in the past. The black trackpad was definitely an aesthetic upgrade and blends really well on the desk, which means that my primary mouse input being the Logitech MX Master 3 mouse on the right hand side, it's in space grey, which is and always will be a dream to use. Going back to one of my first setup photos I shared earlier, you can see I was utilizing my original Performance MX mouse, and to this date I've been using these Logitech mice ever since with no regrets. Like every workspace too, there's always a spot for your favorite beverage, and I don't drink coffee, but I love my tea, and every morning without fail, and admittedly up to 6 times a day, I fill up this black mug which is called the Bloomingville Neri ceramic mug with some tea that always warms up my heart and mind, and as they say, it makes your editing 20 times faster, so it must be doing something. Lastly, on the desk, I also house my own Orbit Key Nest, which stores all of my EDC tech essentials such as drives, cables and storage that I take with me on the go. I made a video showcasing some of my favorite items I store in the Nest and how I utilize it, so if you have the time, feel free to have a watch in the pop-out banner or click the link in the description below. Quite often I find myself working really late into the night, which is why lighting is super important in this space. In addition to the lamp on the desk, I also keep a few lights around the office space, including the famous Hector light from IKEA, the Mark Frost base lamp behind the desk, which is also from IKEA that sits on top of my Braxton unit from L3 Home. I only really turn on this light when I'm just in the relaxing mood using this space. And finally, the Pilscott floor lamp from IKEA, which is genuinely one of my favourite pieces in the whole space, as it honestly looks like it came straight out of a Dune or a sci-fi show without being too over the top. In the near future, I'll do a more in-depth office tour showcasing all the rest of the furniture and organisation I've done in the space to make this home office really my own, which I think is so important when considering designing your own creative space. In the meantime, I'll be sure to link all the products too in the description if you're interested in checking those out. Thank you so much for watching, stay safe, and of course, please do take care.